Hi guys, in this episode of Shri series, we will talk about algebra, but more specifically simplifying by collecting like terms. So in the previous video that I showed before, we looked at few questions on the same topic of simplifying like terms. I've got 4 extra questions here, starting from number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 4. So you can see as we move from number 1 through to number 4, they get a little bit more complex. I thought this is an opportunity for people to see how we tackle simple questions and then work our way through to the complex questions. All right. So I use the simple explanation with grocery shopping. All right. Let's say you go to a store and you get different fruits or vegetables. For instance, you get cabbages, you get let's say oranges, or let's say pineapples. All right, they all mix together in a bag, and then when you get home you categorize them. You put the same fruits on one side. All right, what you're trying to do is you're grouping like terms. All right, this is exactly how we answer these questions. So if you look at question number 1, I'll read out a bit loud in case not everyone can see this question carefully. All right, so if you look at question number 1, we've got 4a plus 5b minus a plus 2b. So normally what I do is when students are first attempting this question, especially beginners type questions, what I like to do is I like to categorize the like terms. So you can see between these here, you've got 4a and negative a. So what I do is I'll put a single tick for the a's, so 4a and negative a. All right, and then I'll put a double tick for 5b and 2b. So I'll put a double tick. So in that way, you can visually see that the single ticks are one term, all right, and then the double ticks are another pair of terms. So in other words, 4a and negative a are like terms, 5b and 2b are like terms. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to rearrange. Please remember, and one of the things I've noticed from students making mistakes in the past is that when they rearrange, they accidentally change the sign. All right, please be consistent with the sign. So if I'm moving this, what I will see is I'm going to move 4a minus a plus 5b plus 2b. All right, and it'll make more sense when I start writing. So what I'll do is I'll go 4a minus a plus 5b plus 2b. So literally what I've done is I've rearranged the expressions. I've got 4a minus a plus 5b plus 2b. So you can see I've now group them together. The a is on one side and the b is on the other side. So now the answer is here, 4a minus a. I use the same example, 4 apples minus 1 apple, you're going to get 3a. So when you don't have a coefficient, you don't have a number here, all you got to do is you assume that that's a number 1 there. So 4a minus a is the same as 4a minus 1a, which becomes 3a. And 5b plus 2b becomes 7b, and that's going to be plus because there's a plus there. 5b plus 2b becomes 7b, and that's your answer. All right, so you can see now that 3a plus 7b, these two pairs are unlike terms. You cannot simplify them any further. However, you can multiply them as shown in the previous video, but we'll leave that later. All right, so 3a plus 7b, that's as far as you can simplify. All right, so the first step, identify the like terms, put a single tick for one pair, another tick for another pair, and then rearrange them, and please be consistent with your sign. All right, let's look at question number 2. I'll read it loud. 3jk minus 4j plus 5jk minus 3j. So what do we need to do? We need to identify the like terms. I see that 3jk and 5jk as one term, and then negative 4j and negative 3j as another pair. So I've put single arrows for one term, double arrows for another pair. All right, so what I'll do now is I'll rearrange. So that's going to be 3jk plus 5jk minus 4j minus 3j. So can you see when I've arranged them, I'm consistent with my sign. You can see there's a 3jk, there's a positive 5jk, there's a negative 4j and a negative 3j. I've rearranged them but I've ensured that the sign is exactly the same. So 3jk plus 5jk, they are the similar terms, so that becomes 8jk. 8jk, and negative 4j minus 3j, that becomes negative 7j. So if you remember your basic integers, when you have back-to-back negative numbers, you treat it as if it's positive and then finally put a negative number. All right, so the final answer is 8jk minus 7j. I can't simplify that any further, and therefore that is my answer. Again, we followed the same method. We've identified the like terms. We've simplified it, all right? Just remember, we're collecting and then simplifying it, all right? Let's look at question number 3, all right? I'll read it out. 4st plus 3ts squared plus st minus 4s squared t. All right, so what's the first thing we need to do? We're gonna identify the like terms. So 4st and st are like terms. Now I'm looking at 3ts squared and negative 4s squared t. At first, it's very easy to look at the question or look at the expression and say, no, they are unlike terms because the t is here and s squared's here, and then you've got s squared and t. But if you look very carefully, they actually like terms. They just want to confuse you by putting the letters on either side just to jumble it up for you. So they are actually like terms. So 3t s squared and negative 4s squared t are actually like terms. However, the way I'd like to arrange them, I would put them according to alphabetical order. All right, so I'm going to put it with s first and then followed by t. All right, so let's now rearrange 4st plus st, so we're putting the like terms together, plus 3s squared t minus 4s squared t. So I like to put them in order, in alphabetical order. All right, so 4st plus st now becomes 5st. You know very well, when there's no number behind st, we assume it as 1. All right, now this is where you got to be careful. I did mention in this question, for example, we're putting a plus here, but we got to be careful because you got to remember 3s squared t minus 4s squared t will not give you a positive answer. It'll give you a negative answer. So if in doubt, ask yourself, what is 3 minus 4? That is negative 1. So therefore, 3s squared t minus 4s squared t becomes negative 1 or minus 1s squared t. So your answer is going to be minus s squared t. All right. Now, this is how you can simplify it. You can't go any further. However, in the previous section, we talked about factorizing, where you leave the answer in a bracket. So if the question tells you, can you leave the answer as a factorized form, then we can go one step further. We find out that s and t are common. So I'll put s and t. S looks like a 5. Please bear with me. And then you open the bracket. And then what you're going to get is that's a 5 minus s. So that's a 5 minus s. So when we further simplify that question, that now becomes st f 5 minus s. Now, if the question asks you to leave your final answer as a factorized form, then you go for this. But if it just tells you to simply group them into like and unlike terms and then leave it the way it is, you can leave it like that. All right, I just wanted to give you options because in the previous video we did talk about factorization. All right, now let's look at question number 4. Slightly bit more complex, but we're still following the same thing. All right, I'll read it out loud. 7x cubed y to the power 4 minus 3x y to the power 2 minus 4y to the power 4 x to the power 3 plus 5y to the power 2x. All right, now there's so many x's, there's so many y. It's very easy to assume they're all like terms because there's x and y, but we got to be very, very careful. We're going to look at the powers and be consistent with that. All right, so Let's look at this question carefully. We've got 7x cubed and y to the power 4. So I'm going to look at which terms have x cubed y to the power 4. Definitely not this. Definitely not this. I think it's this one here. Again, we had that issue with this question here. They've just jumbled it to confuse you. So what I'll do is I will put one tick for these pairs. Let's look at the next one. Negative 3xy to the power 2 and 5y squared x. So if you look carefully, they're actually the same thing. They've purposely jumbled it up to confuse you. So that becomes another term, another like term. All right. And then what I'll do is I'll put x and then y. We're following the alphabet. All right. So let's now rearrange that. So that's going to be 7x to the power 3, y to the power 4, minus 4, x to the power 3, y to the power 4. Remember, I've just jumbled them up, all right? And then I'm going to put negative 3xy squared plus 5xy squared. So what was jumbled, I've now put them together. Now you can see I've simplified it. When students see this, they get excited because now they know, all right, we've now grouped them together. We can further simplify that, all right? So now 7x cubed y to the power 4 minus 4x cubed y to the power 4. Always remember the trick. You just put x to the power 3, y to the power 4. And 7 minus 4 becomes 3. That's all you got to do. So the trick is put these numbers, or should I say these terms, x to the power 3, y to the power 4, and then you subtract 7 minus 4, all right? Now, you look at this question here, negative 3x y to the power 2 plus 5x y to the power 2. Again, please don't make that mistake by putting a negative sign just because it's here. That works with this question. However, we need to simplify that. All right, we know very well the answer is going to have xy to the power 2. However, we need to simplify negative 3xy to the power 2 plus 5xy to the power 2. If you're confused, treat it as negative 3 plus 5, which becomes positive 2. So the answer is plus 2xy to the power 4. And again, you can further simplify it. You can further factorize it because you can see x and y are common in this question here. All right. So you could simplify that and that will become x y to the power 2 because x is common here and y to the power 2. And then you open your brackets. That's going to be 3x y to the power 2 plus 2. All right. And that's what you're going to be getting here. However, if the question, like I said before in question number 3, if the question asks you to write your answer as a factorized form, you leave it like this. If it says just write your answer without leaving it in any form, then you leave it in this form. All right, you leave it in this way. All right, now we can't simplify that further, and that's what happens here. So in summary, when you're simplifying by collecting like terms, identify the like terms. You can put a tick. All right. I know some students put circles for one term and put squares in the other term, but I just use ticks. All right. And then you rearrange them. Please remember when you rearrange, so you can see that's a rearrangement, that's a rearrangement, that's a rearrangement, and that's a rearrangement. Please remember that when you're rearranging, please be consistent with your sign. If it's a negative 1, bring that negative 1. If it's a positive 2, bring that positive 2. All right. And then as you could see with question 3 and number 4, these two look like they were unlike terms, but they actually like terms. They purposely jumble them up to confuse you. All you got to do is put them in order. Same thing in these questions here, in these pairs. They actually jumble them up and put them in order. And once you group them together and you know you can't further simplify it, that is your answer. And if the question tells you to leave your answer as a factorized form, like in question 3 and number 4, you leave it like that. All right. Thank you guys. Bye now.